Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.
Hey everyone, how's it going? Welcome to the Know Your Gear podcast for June 7th. It's June 7th, it's summer. Oh, mute that. June 7th, so it's summertime. Where I live is definitely officially summertime. I believe it's 108 degrees right now as I'm speaking. So, if you are not at 108, enjoy while you have it, because it's hot. It's definitely hot. Okay. So, as always, we have a lot of stuff to get started with on the show. First, I just want to do the announcements. Probably the most important announcement is that we're still, you have until the 14th, so it's next Friday, to enter to win that Gretsch guitar from my deep dive video, which you can watch. If you go back, you'll see it. It's about 2 videos ago. You can watch an entire deep dive of that guitar. We're giving that guitar away with a Gretsch case and some KYG swag. And to enter, all you have to do is subscribe to the channel and then enter in your email address. And then the randomizer picks you, and then I email you personally and let you know you won. So if you haven't entered, please do so because, hey, you never know if you're going to win, right? Numbers like this aren't like the lottery. There's not that many entries, comparatively speaking. It's not, hundreds of thousands of people or anything like that. Other announcements that are important to mention is that if you live in the Phoenix area or going to be in the Phoenix area next weekend, not only are we going to give away this guitar on the 14th, on the 15th, that Saturday, my buddy Larry Mitchell is going to be doing a clinic at Zim's Guitars. So check that out. I think that's Mesa, Arizona. I think he's in Mesa. I'm pretty sure it's Mesa, Arizona. Around here, I can't tell if it's Mesa or Tempe. I'm pretty sure it's Mesa. And so please go to Zim's website and check out that. But I would definitely check out that clinic. And then also, what else? Oh, of course, I got to thank the sponsors and the people that help the show. Of course, this show is sponsored by patrons and channel members. I want to thank you guys immensely so much, especially because, 300 plus episodes, and you guys have definitely made this all possible. And that's why you don't have to listen to me talk about Dollar Shave Club or shaving your balls or whatever the thing is that people have to push on. I watch a lot of podcasts. They're always pushing all these weird products. They're always like, sometimes I think they're gag products, like a joke. So here it's sponsored by you guys, and I appreciate that because it definitely makes the show more enjoyable for me, at least, and I hope it does for you as well. And of course, let's thank those moderators because they make the show go smoothly. They do a lot more than you think they do, and I want you to just be aware of that because, like I said, they are huge. In fact, I need to make sure that I have... Where's my moderator tab? Here it is. I have a screen so I can see the moderators talking besides what you guys see them talking about. So in case there's something they need to get to my attention, like a missed comment or question that might be interesting. Okay, so, and also they also put all the links and stuff though. So I want to thank them all for that because it's a huge deal. All right, so we'll just go with it. Today was a little interesting. I literally just got home. I set up the show earlier today and I went to Costco, not bragging, but I just came back. I literally just came back from Costco. Let me put it this way. If you were, it is possible somebody 15 to 20 minutes ago tops just saw me at the Costco and went, and now I'm on the show. So yeah, I was just at Costco to get our supplies for the weekend because it's going to be hot here. Okay, so let's go and look for some early questions. Jeremy wanted to know, Philip, hello, wondering your thoughts on PRS changing the Vela pickup. You think the demand for the current model will go up or down? The Satin SH is on my new guitar day list. So if you guys know, I talked about this when I did 2 of the new Paul Reed Smith S2s where they basically changed the pickups to the more like the high-end core pickups, and the Vela also received a change in the pickup configuration. I think it's for the better. I think some people are going to probably want the old pickup because the Vela was kind of a unique, cool guitar, but I think the new stuff is good. Where I don't, I wish I had some experience. I could tell you, like, oh, I've played the new Vela pickups and the old one, and they're better. I don't know if they're better. I'm assuming through the gear math of the new pickup costs more. Maybe it's better. It's possible, as we know, sometimes that works and sometimes that doesn't work, to use that kind of logic. I think it's net positive to the user for value. I just don't know if they're getting a better sounding pickup. But here's what I do imagine. If you get the new Vela, I would be shocked if you didn't like the pickup, that you couldn't trade that pickup to somebody for one of the old Vela pickups. So, but I think the S2 level up was net positive. That's a really interesting thing to segue into that really chimes into a deeper thing right now. This week, I spent more time on the phone, more time on emails, and more time on chats with everything from viewers like you guys to my patrons to companies to other YouTubers. And one overlying subject kept coming up, which was basically value right now because the market is so much slower and so far down from where it was during the COVID boom. And everybody's going to have a different opinion and theory on this. And in my experience, it's always been a guess. No one's going to know. No one's got a mystical, powerful magic ball to tell you exactly where the market is. And again, on this channel, we're just talking about the guitar market. We're not going to talk about, the stock market or the price on gold. I don't give a crap about that stuff on this channel. This channel is about guitars. So in the guitar market, in fact, guitar of the day today is kind of tied into a theme that's going to talk about that. Right now, what I can tell you is people are still buying guitars, but only deals. I can see it in the affiliate links. I can see it through my friends. I can see it through you guys. And what I will tell you is, and this is what keeps coming up, is either somebody saying, hey, I bought this because it was a really crazy deal. Or somebody saying, hey, this, I want this, but they're not making any deals. Right now, I think is a very interesting time where you're going to see a lot of people selling and buying, and basically both parties are kind of off. This is what I really think the market's at right now. I think if you're buying or selling, I think right now you have a very unrealistic expectation in the market. I think if you're buying, you think it's like, hey, no one's buying, it's just me, and I'm going to, get a smoking deal. I think you can get great deals. I think there's smoking deals, but I think it's not a desperate market out there. It's just not. However, for the sellers to think that there isn't a market that is soft, that you're going to have to really kind of give somebody a reason to buy, you're not being very realistic either. So that's why I wanted to bring this up with the PRS thing, because I think a couple companies, in my opinion, are really, really being smart. One, of course, is Paul Reed Smith Guitars. I think one of the smart things they did is, hey, look, the market's slowing. Let's make a $499, SE guitar. The market's slowing. Hey, let's make a more obtainable Dave Grissom amplifier that's now, $1,200 versus $3,000, right? I mean, it's just not going to be feasible for a lot of people to kind of spend that kind of money in a softer market or want to. More value for the S2s, right? Change up a little bit on the core models. And I saw Novo Guitars mention that they're now, like, it's a 6-month waiting list, that they're basically, you can get a Novo faster than you can before. I personally thought that was a great spin. I thought they're like, hey, just so you know, we made some changes and now we can make guitars faster. I'm like, are those changes that you're making less guitars because the market softened up? I don't know that, but it's interesting though that at least I could tell you right now, there's a lot of companies out there whose timelines have definitely constricted down as the orders have come down. And so basically what I'm saying is, if you're out there looking to buy a new guitar for your new guitar day, I think you're going to be I think you're smart if you make sure you get a good deal right now, because there's deals to be had. You shouldn't be paying anything close to what the premiums were just a year or two ago. But also, I think you should be realistic about the desperation out there. It's not as desperate as you think, but it is definitely, they would like the sale, because sales have slowed dramatically. And I think if you're selling, I think you're not being realistic if you don't understand you're going to have to give a little to get something to move. And so it'll be interesting to see what companies' policies change. I mean, obviously we see Fender giving 30% off guitars right now, which is basically, if you think about it, that's what they inflated the guitars. So they're now back to pre-pandemic levels for some of their guitars, some of the deals. Let's see. Sam says Nova is out of their minds. I'm sure they're nice, but those prices are insanity. You know, Sam, part of that market, like the Sir market, the Paul Reed Smith market, the premium market, is to be a little insane. You know, there's never, the question I've always had trouble with, you know, all these years on this show is somebody's like, what makes a guitar worth $3,000, $5,000? And I'm like, nothing justifies that intangible, touchable things. I mean, the manufacturers talk in that language. They go, oh, this is a premium piece of plastic and a premium piece of wood and a premium, right? You know, it's premium brands make a lot less guitars and they charge a lot more for them because they make a lot less guitars. And that's just basically how it works. And because they make less guitars, they can spend more time and attention to making sure the guitars are right. And in my guitar travels, I've said this before, Fano to me is where Sir was 5 years ago, okay? What I mean by that was Sir's different now, but Sir has always been this company that's like very premium and can do no wrong, right? Like they can make a satin finish guitar and say, this is $4,000. And everybody's like, it's the best guitar ever. It's the best guitar ever. And they're great guitars. But I have so many great guitars at so many different price points. I just don't know how to get there with, you know, it's the best guitar there is. I have guitar. My favorite guitars have not been Sirs. They have not been PRSs. They have not been Callings or Novos. You know, those are fantastic guitars. Some of my favorite guitars have been Schecters, Fenders, you know. Interestingly enough, I have a bunch of Kiesels, and I think Kiesels are a great value for price. My favorite Kiesel out of all my Kiesels is the least expensive one. I don't know why that is. It just happens to be the least expensive one out of all of them. It just seems to be my favorite one. So I don't think you're ever going to, if you're not in the market for those kind of guitars, you're never going to see the logic behind them. But some people really like to have something exclusive and unique. And I've said this before. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think in this industry, the music industry is an artistic industry. It's a science industry. It's a marketing industry. You know, it's music. It's everything music is. It's all those things. And it's also a vanity industry. I mean, I hang my guitars on my walls. Because it looks gorgeous. A lot of you guys hang guitars on your walls. You know, I don't remember fishermen hanging fishing rods in their front rooms of their houses. Maybe they do. Somebody tell me, do fishermen hang fishing rods in their houses? Do they hang, you know, do tennis players hang tennis rackets in their house and stare at them? I mean, it is funny that we do stare at guitars. They're as much art as they are an instrument and a tool. And because of that, there's some vanity to that. And the vanity is what brings out the, you know, I want mine to be unique. And some of you guys don't care about that. Some of you guys are like, I just like a guitar, and, you know, that's why people drive Camrys and that's why people drive Porsches. It's that logic. So, Dear Racer X says, let's be honest, we're just collectors. You know, what's funny about that is that, but that's not exclusive to collectors hanging guitars on the walls. Musicians who literally make a living hang their their instruments on the walls. So, it is kind of funny. So I don't know. And I'll always preach this. Expensive guitars are usually in most cases more about being unique or therefore vanity. And that's why I like them. And I think, and I've sold so many guitars to so many people over the years. What I've noticed is that no matter what your personality is and no matter what you think, there is a little bit of vanity that comes to it. I mean, how many times you have to hear, oh, I don't like that headstock. That's the vanity play. There's no logic to it. You know, when somebody says, I don't like the Ibanez headstock, I like the Jackson headstock, there is no argument, I hope, that the Jackson headstock sounds different than the Ibanez headstock. It's just a branding and vanity thing. That ties into, somebody asked me about this. This one was an emailed question, and I just thought it said, where is it at? This one says, this is from Doc Eck. Right? Doc X says, I love that you encourage us to focus on actual quality beyond the logo of a headstock, but is there really much you can do to evaluate the quality of a guitar with pictures online, whether it's buying new at Sweetwater or buying used on Reverb? So great question. So his question is like, basically other than, focusing on the brand to know the value, is there anything you can do to evaluate quality with just looking at it? Like, hey, think about this, just like YouTube videos. Yeah, you can. Here's how you can. Unfortunately, it's the reality of the internet is just, it takes longer and more research. Okay. So for instance, when I bought my truck, I watched so many reviews of it. I didn't go test drive. I could have just gone test driving them, but instead I watched tons of reviews on YouTube, and a lot of them were comparative reviews. Somebody's like, this is it versus this truck. Is this that truck? And then from that, I could kind of gauge like, oh, okay, those are things I don't care about, and those are things I do care about. And a lot of the stuff that I learned online watching videos of the vehicle were actually better than just test driving it, because test driving it taught me, how it feels, and that's a very important thing. But it was nice to see, like, am I missing out? Because part of the problem, and I've said this before, and then we'll jump to another subject, is this, and this is what I've been saying for years. And I even said it to Dave Freeman. I've told you guys this years ago when I was talking to Dave Freeman. He says, there's so many YouTubers doing so many review videos. It's crazy. And I said, it's because everything is good. If everything was like it was 30 years ago, where it was like junky Gorilla amps and really nice Marshalls, and it was all about, like, if you got high expensive stuff, you got good stuff, and if you did the cheap stuff, it wasn't good, you would never need a YouTube video. You would never need review. It would make no sense. Why you need reviewers, why everyone is watching reviews all the time, is because everything is good. So you're trying to figure out where do you spend your money when everything is good? How do you, and the irony is, in most cases, you can't make a bad purchase, so who cares? But also, that doesn't really help you when you get that buyer's remorse afterwards going, maybe I should have got that other thing because it was also very good. So comparative reviews are probably the best way to do it. So when you're talking about, can you make a purchase besides using just the brand, looking at pictures or watching videos? Yes. Yeah. You usually need some kind of comparison to that. But yeah. Mike wants to know, when should someone pay more for a nicer amp? I have an Ignator tweaker. That's a great amp, man. And while it's cheaper, it sounds good. Most of my guitars are more expensive. Should I upgrade to at some point? No. Look, it's kind of like upgrading your guitar, the pickups on your guitar, the tuning keys. Some people just do it. It's habitual. They get a guitar and they're going to change out parts, which is fine. But what I really find is that if you don't hear a problem, see a problem, or feel a problem, you don't have a problem. So I have owned the tweaker amp, the Ignator tweaker amp. It was a fantastic amplifier. I didn't get rid of it because it wasn't good. I just get rid of it because I got rid of it because there was something else, and I wanted to try something else, and I tried something else. And I think that's the big takeaway is that a more expensive amp isn't going to give you anything unless you're already missing something from your current amp. I have owned a ton of amps. I currently own a ton of amps, and I've said it before, I would be totally fine with just having my Fender Princeton. This DGT-15, the reason I like it is because it reminds me of the Princeton, but it has a boost in it, and I use a boost in front of my Princeton. I kind of like it. So it's kind of nice. They have the same vibe. In fact, if I didn't recently change my Princeton from a combo into a head, I wish I can put it back because I have the cabinet and I can put it back. I might, because I did it because I wanted something like this, a little 15 watt little, I know the Princeton's 12, but you get the idea. I wanted a little low wattage head into a bigger 112 cabinet, and this would have satisfied that. But back to your question, if it's not broke, don't fix it. If you don't, your amp sounds good because it is a good amp. It's a great amp, in fact. Let's see. The Pick, like the Tick, one of my favorite comic books. The Pick says, what YouTubers are actually reviewing gear and saying the gear sucks? Well, I don't know if they say it sucks. I mean, here's the thing about this, and you hear it a lot. Maybe you don't trust it, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with not trusting. It's probably a good, like I told you, I'm a pessimist by nature, so not trusting anything is pretty much my default go-to first, so I wouldn't suggest you to do anything other than that. What I will tell you is that it's not very fun to review and talk about something you don't enjoy. I've said this before. I think if I was reviewing car seats or safety products, I think there would be a reason to be like, this is not very safe, or this is not very good, and you should be concerned about this, and A being products, and maybe talk about that. But when you're arguing like this amp's distortion is slightly better than this amp's distortion, it's hard to say one sucks, because it's just a preference thing. So because it's mostly preference, you're going to go to it. The trick on YouTube platforms is that some people are reviewing and some people are demoing, and there's a gray line between that. So you just want to be, I think most of you, like me, you get a sense of that. I always use this as a perfect example. Pete Thorne tends to be more like a demo channel and less like a review channel. And my channel leans more towards review, where I'm going to give you more opinion or more presentation of stuff to pay attention to, versus, just showing you the product. So that sometimes helps. But I think you need somebody like Pete, because now you want to hear what the thing can do. I can demo it in a way where you're like, okay, that's what it sounds like. But it's nice to hear somebody like a professional like him go, this is what it can really sound like. Amazing. So, but I have done reviews where I've not liked stuff and I've put them out, but only when it was to the extreme. It has to be extreme. I have a video. So think about this. I have a video now of a guitar some company sent me, and I hated it. I hated it. I hate it now. I totally don't understand this guitar, why it was sent to me, and what its even purpose in the world is. And here is the problem. I've been editing the video because that is what I'm trying to not say in the video, not because I'm trying to pull a punch. It just doesn't work for me. It's not my thing. I don't understand this guitar. In fact, I think somewhere in the video I said it's not a guitar, it's a stereo or something, right? Because it's a different kind of product. So I don't know if there's value to be there. So I might end up releasing the video, but I'm not excited about the video because it's a lot more fun to show you guys stuff that I think is cool, and then show you things that I'm concerned about with that product. Or more importantly, what I actually really am trying to do is I'm trying to get it to where when you get a thing, everything that's negative about it, you kind of knew it was coming. Because I don't know about you guys, everybody's different personalities. Me, there is no perfect. Every guitar, everything has flaws. I just want to know what I have to worry about when I get it. What is the big concerns? Okay. All right. Let's go to, I got some cool, what I need to do is I need to check, because I told you guys a week or so ago that YouTube's been playing with the screens again. Updates. So let me hit some of these super chats. We have, first one came from Litvey. Hey, Litvey says, several months ago, you gave me advice on a custom build. Keep it simple and resist the urge to complicate things. I did, and I now see how it helped avoid disasters. This guitar could have gone wrong in so many ways, but instead it's amazing. Thank you. Yeah, I'm glad it worked out for you, Litvey. And I think I maybe said this when I talked about this. That was advice I learned from observing signature guitars. And now that I have a signature guitar with Kiesel, as you guys know, I love the experiences. It's like the involvement with Badlands, the involvement, making my own pickups, having a signature product. Everything for me is about what can I learn? Can I, go to Tolman? I can go to Sweetwater. I can go to factories. I can go to little shops. I want to learn from everything I can, because I have this show on Fridays where we talk about all this stuff, and I'd rather just have some experience to pull off of, because as I told you guys, I don't consider myself a smart person. I just have experience, and that experience, it's a lot easier to say to somebody, this happened versus this is what I think, right? And if that helps you, it's great. And what I can tell you is that when I've had custom builds in the past, I would always predict, this guitar will be perfect if I do this, this, and this, and I get the guitar. I was never happy. And then one day it hit me after several custom instruments, that when signature guitar players tell you, when a guitar artist, whether you like them or not, you're their artist or not, they always say, oh, it took 2 years. It always takes 2 years, right? And it took 15 guitars before they got it right. And you're like, whatever. And I'm here to tell you, yeah, if you ever ordered a custom guitar, I could tell you there's probably a 90% chance when you got it, you were like, man, I wish I would have done this. and then you got to do it again if you really want to be happy, and it's so expensive you can't justify it. So it's a crazy thing. So I think that if you're going to do a custom guitar, like I told Litvey, keep it as simple as possible. The more you add to it, the more things you're taking chances that you might not like it. And if you are a picky kind of person, I would definitely have it in your mind that you may need to order 2 at some point. Order 1 and then get it, order a second one. It's what us average kind of Joes and Janes have to do that don't get 20 signature guitars built for us to check out. My signature guitar was easy. They sent it to me. It wasn't a signature guitar. It was just a guitar I asked them to build. They built it. I was playing it for a year, and then it was me and Brandon at Kiesel kind of noticed, like, man, I'm always playing this guitar. I love it. And I'm like, I do love it. And he's like, people are ordering it. Let's make it a signature thing. And that's what it is. It's more so just it happened in the best way you can have it. I'm using it all the time. Let's just, make it, an option for people to get. But I would have been too scared if I would have done a signature outright guitar. It would probably never, I would probably never been happy. Probably would have been crazy. Let's see. Okay. Oh, 67 Goat says, do you think Harmony amps will ever ship? I don't know. I didn't know that they weren't shipping. I don't know anything about that, but I saw your comment and I wanted to say it out loud because, like when I'm timestamping, I make notes. Ellen wants to know, Phil, what are my favorite really small practice amps? Asking for a friend. My all-time favorite practice amp is my Princeton. I don't care if it's a 65 reissue. I don't care if it's 68 reissue. I don't care if it's an old one, a vintage one. I don't care if it's the Tone Master one. That's my favorite amp. After that, it's probably going to be the Blues Junior. We're talking small amps, little amps that I like. Those are combos. And then after that, it's going to be probably the Engel Fireball 25. Those are just absolutely my favorite amps. Those are the amps that I would say, if I can only have one amp, it's going to be one of those. This DGT, I haven't spent enough time with it. I said, gave you guys a review. I don't know if you guys know this, but that was the first time I've ever done a review that fast. I got the guitar on Friday and the video was out by Tuesday or Wednesday, I think. So that was a fast turn, you know what I mean? So I really got involved in the amp, but I generally like to spend, weeks with the product to kind of sense of it. I really like it. I keep using it. Like I said, PRS is leaving it here so I can keep using it. We're going to use it today. I really think, I really like it. I'm not going to say at this point that I love it more than what I just said, the Fireball 25 or the Princeton, something like that. But I like the features on it, and I like, a little bit to say it might be the one kind of thing. Luke says Blues Juniors will do the trick for sure. Sure, of course. I played Blues Juniors forever. I used to, play Hot Rod Deluxe. If you remember the channel, I used to play Hot Rod Deluxe all the time. I love the Hot Rod Deluxe, and still one of my favorite amps. I'm a very basic guy. I love Fender amps, and then I like amps that are kind of Fender-esque. And although I've played all the boutique-y ones, and I have a bunch of them now, and they're really great, I would never say never get one. They're fantastic, but I've kind of come to the conclusion of doing 1,000 reviews of things that if you have the inkling in your head to buy something expensive, you're going to, I don't need to tell you to buy more. I'm not going to ever tell you, spend more money, be more happy. Okay. I'm going to tell you, like, this is good. And if this is what you're looking for, you can go here. If you want to spend more than that, do that. Because it's everything above that I think is slightly better. I said this last week, I think, where I said, Amplified Nation is better than everything I mentioned today just now. It is. It's just twice, 3 times, 4 times the price. If you want to spend that, spend it. I think it's great. It's worth it. But I also think you can be totally happy with a Fender amp and a couple pedals. Or maybe you won't. I don't know. Actually, it's not that you can be happy. I think it's quality. Okay. I'm looking at comments. Somebody says a 63 Princeton. I don't know what that is. I'm not really familiar with the vintage Princetons. Like I said, I play a 68 reissue, which is basically the modded one. It's a 65, but it's got some modifications. Oh, Robert Baker wants to know, do you ever use that ring guitar slide? I do. What's funny is, over the years I've reviewed some gadgets and gizmos. The ring slide that has a magnet on it is really cool, and the Black Mountain little rings slide are really cool. And I'll tend to pull those out and use them from time to time. I think I said it in those videos, or at least probably conveyed it, that I'm not a huge slide player. Obviously, I'm not. RJ Rinquillo is so amazing at slide. Players like that, can go to slide. I'm not a slide player, but sometimes, I feel the need. Using slide to me is like the wah pedal. I just want to get it out. I want to play some cool stuff on it. It's just fun to do and experiment with sounds and things. And so that's what I'll experiment. And it's a lot easier for me to use something that's not so, traditional, something just a little bit just for the fun of it and make crazy sounds with it. Okay. Hold on a second. Okay, let's go back to my other screen. All right. We have Randy says, hey, Phil, I bought an Epi Hummingbird and the Gibson inspired one, I assume. Epiphone has really stepped up their game. I was looking at a Taylor, but the Epi just grabbed me. Great guitar. It's funny about that you said that Epiphone has stepped up their game. As you guys know, we gave away an Epiphone Firebird. Shauna bought an Epiphone Firebird from Sweetwater, and we had a giveaway, and we gave that guitar away. And the crazy thing about that guitar is, I think I told the patrons. I think I remember talking to the patrons about this in some way, but it was as good as that Gibson Red Firebird in every way, absolutely every single way. Now, to the point, I can tell you right now, if somebody offered me exactly what I paid for that Red Firebird, right now, I would happily sell it and just buy the Epiphone and have the Epiphone one. I was that impressed with the Epiphone. I remember I pulled it out of the box because I had to go through it to make sure it's right for the person that won it. And I was playing it on the couch downstairs. And my house is, we work from home. So my house is like half, I wish I was kidding. I wish I was half. 60-70% work area and then where me and Sean will kind of live. So we have like the family room and then we have our bedroom. And then the rest of the house, like the front room of my house is Shauna's art area and office and everything where she does everything. It's just this big room. So I was in there playing the guitar, testing it, and wow. In fact, I was blown away. In fact, I had never... Well, let me put it this way. As much as I like Paul Reed Smith and Paul Reed Smith quality, I had never played an SE that had been that it was that close to a core. As you guys know, I love SEs, I love S2s, and I love cores, but for different reasons. But I've never, ever picked up an SE, played it, and said, wow, this is exactly like the core. I picked up that Epiphone for $649, which I think we paid $589. I think they gave her 10% off. Sweetwater, the rep did. So $600. $600. I believe I paid $26 for the Gibson Firebird because it was red, unique. For $2,000 more, I was almost offended. I don't mean offended like because the Gibson wasn't great. That guitar is fantastic. I was more like, man, Gibson, don't make those Epiphones that good. It makes no sense. It makes no sense. It's so good. So if you're telling me the Epiphone Hummingbird's good, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I'm that impressed. In fact, I had never been that impressed with an Epiphone, and it could have been a fluke. It could have been a really polished out, really nice one, but it felt like just the upgrades and stuff, the quality that they've done, really great. One of the things about the Epiphone Firebird, the one thing about Epiphone Firebirds and Vs that I like a lot is that cosmetically they look exactly like the Gibson one. They have about the same headstocks. Everything looks the same. It's not like, when they make stuff look slightly different, but it was very impressive. And the necks were almost identical. The shape, the carve, everything. So it was impressive. So the person who won the Epiphone, I think I'd be shocked if they don't love it, unless they just don't like the Firebird. But it was fantastic. So yeah, I would say Epiphone stepped up their game for sure. Yeah. Maybe we'll get some and put some on the channel. You know, if you guys are interested, please do me a favor, especially in the permanent comments after the show is posted, or you can just send them to the ask@knowyourgear Gmail email address. Give me suggestions of Epiphones you'd like to have on the channel, because we got to buy those. So we'll buy them and put them on the channel. I don't know if we can do giveaways with all of them. Giveaways gets expensive. So it depends on if we can find sponsors. We call it co-sponsoring because it's co-sponsoring. The term, so just so we're on the same page, I call co-sponsoring when a company is paying for not everything, right? So like, for instance, if a company gives me, let's say a company gives me $1,000 to make a video and I buy a $1,000 guitar and do a giveaway with it. They paid for the guitar to give away, but I'm now, I'm not getting paid. I'm just getting, just doing the work for whatever hopefully the video makes. So, we do a lot of co-sponsoring with that. The Gretsch is a co-sponsored video. They gave us the guitars and the case, but we're paying the shipping and stuff. And luckily, because you guys, the video did really well. It's at like 80,000 views. So it actually made enough to cover the shipping of where it's going to cost us to ship this guitar and the swag that we threw in. And we'll maybe make a couple $100. Couple, I'm not kidding when I say a couple. It might be rounding up saying a couple. But at least, hey, it's something. It's something. And I was hoping just to break even on it because, we do get subscribers from it. There is value. People get to see the channel and know the channel. So, like I said, sometimes there's different reasons why we do all the things we do. Sometimes it's a marketing play. That was a marketing play. Let's get more people excited about the channel. Maybe that'll turn into, profits in the future, right? And I got to do a Gretsch guitar, which is cool. Okay, so we have Heavy in Hawaii. Says, how does Tabor make me feel the need for a solid state orange amp? Kings X still kills it live. Tabor is a fluke of nature when it comes to the solid state amps. I've been down that rabbit hole with Tabor. So if you guys don't know, some of you guys know who Kings X is. Kings X, I would put in my top 20 favorite bands of all time. And if you guys, if you guys want to see, I did an interview with Doug Pinnick on the second channel. He is amazing. And as a person, as a human being, he is amazing. But as a talent, he is beyond amazing. And I would love to have Tabor on the channel. That's one of the few interviews I would definitely agree to do that one. But Ty, if you guys don't know Tabor, he not only is he a fantastic guitar player, great tone, great songwriter, he plays solid state amps. He's been known to play all these solid state amps. He's currently playing orange solid state amps. He did for a while play Egnator, tube module amps, when Egnator had the modules before it was sold over to Boutique, which is now Synergy products. And he's also known for playing some other solid state. Like doesn't he play is it a Roland? What solid state amp? He's famously played a solid state amp. I forgot what it was. I think it's the same one that George Benson was playing forever. And it might have been a Roland. I can't remember. But anyways, it wasn't a jazz chorus. It was something else, something like that. Somebody probably knows. But anyways, like you, I was like, man, he gets such amazing tone out of those solid state amps. And then if you guys remember, I did an orange solid state amp video, and that was what I was doing. I was going down that rabbit hole. I was trying to get his sound. And, I just never got it to sound the same as him, the way he got it to sound. And I know some people are like, it's in his hands, and it is in your hands. Thank you. Han 36 Solo Lab Series amps by Gibson. Thank you. Yes, Lab Series. He was playing Lab Series, and I remember George Benson was also playing a Lab Series back in the day. I played through a couple of them over the years, and I never remember thinking anything great about them until it's one of those things, I don't know. What's funny is it's not the first time that happened to me. The very first time I ever played a real Dumble, I've played two. The first time I ever played a real Dumble, I didn't quite know what a Dumble was, other than it was some, expensive weird amp. I remember plugging into it at a studio, playing it for a few minutes, and I remember saying, it reminds me of a Hot Rod Deluxe. Because it did. And I'm sure those guys were probably like, this guy knows nothing. Is that my little snotty look? They seemed really offended, but I was like, I didn't mean anything by it. I was just, and I didn't mean it as a down. As you guys know, I like the Hot Rod Deluxe, but I was kind of like, oh, it sounds like a Hot Rod Deluxe, kind of big, clean, with a little bit of grit, cool. But remember not liking it. I liked it, but not liking it like, wow, it was angels singing. So that was the first time experience. So sometimes there's that placebo that gets into your head. In other words, you know it later, it's cool. And then it's cool. But at the time, I didn't know it was cool. So I guess I didn't hear the magic in it. Matt wants to know, why is Kings X not more famous? Because most people's music tastes suck, Matt. That's what it is. I'm sorry. We're all guilty of it. It's because as humans, we have all kinds of weird quirks. And one of them is, as a whole, we have horrible taste in food, music, art. Right? It's just how that works. And then that's why I love the term connoisseur, a connoisseur of something, right? As you become a connoisseur of anything, whether it's guitar, whether it's music, whether it's wine, whether it's whatever, sure, there's some BS and all that, but really, I believe the more you educate yourself about something, the more you learn why little things make things so much better. And music's one of those things, how many of you guys hanging out right now live understand this? You're hanging out with that friend who's not here hanging out with you right now, not into the things you're into, and they're talking about music, and they don't hear what you hear. I have it all the time with my friends. They tell me this song's great, and I'm listening to the song, and I like songs. Like, I like a lot of songs. Like, I like a hamburger. It's great, but it's not like the thing I love the most, right? And so I can listen to music and go, yeah, it's pretty good. It's like a hamburger. Yeah, it's fine. But sometimes, when you hear some basic stuff, it's just really not that great. Kings X to me, is just one of those bands that just is fantastic. And I can tell you right now, one of the problems with Kings X, one small problem with Kings X. If you ever seen them live, I've seen them live 3 times in 3 different types of venues. Every time they were, I would say, actually, out of all 3 times, they were the absolute perfect every time. So there was no one time I could think of where they were better, tighter, or performed differently than any other time. They were always perfect and amazing. But I would say they were one of the best live bands I ever heard, and they would definitely be one of the bands, if I had to pick a band, if you said, Phil, what band have you ever heard live and never heard a recording as good as live, it would be Kings X. And that's not saying anything about the recordings. Their recordings are great, but that's a band, for some reason, as much as I love all their albums, when you see them live, there's just that last little, I don't know, I'll say the 1%. There's this last little 1% that can't be captured in the studio, right? The magic of them. So that's, the live, Tony said the same thing. Live albums are better than the studio LPs. Yeah, there's just something of magic about them. It gives me chills thinking about their harmonies and stuff. So if you guys don't know who Kings X is, if any of you want to check it out, I will caution you to please try to go and Google search like probably their biggest song, and then try to find 2 or 3 other songs, or maybe if people are throwing suggestion songs, give them a 3-song chance, 3 different types of songs. They're a band that is not regurgitating the same sound and song every time. So if you do hear something and you go, I don't understand this, there's odds are that you're going to find something you do. But if you just want to hear amazing singing and playing, and it's crazy. It's a great, great band for sure. So Amanda says, I can never understand why somebody put down other people's music tastes. It's so childish. Well, Amanda, you're 100% right. And then also, there is something fun to poking fun at somebody's. You said put down, so I'm not saying that. I'm not just find that. But there is a little fun giving somebody, razzing somebody, right? Giving them somebody a little crap, for their likes. But we all have guilty pleasures, and music. And like I said, and all the things that we like, food, art, all that stuff. And but music, there's music. Sometimes I just want to listen to music for the fun of music, and then sometimes I just need to dissect it and listen to it. And but yeah, I understand. I don't like it when people put down things that people like, which is why that brings me back to earlier when we were talking about reviews. When I do reviews of products, I try to be professional in the things I don't enjoy about the product, or things like I'm concerned about, or things. But I also keep in mind that somebody does love this thing, and I'm not here to tell them why they're wrong. Okay. And some of you guys, most of you guys, I think, get it. A few people think like, oh, you're just, you need to be, more, direct about it or whatever you guys are saying. And I always say, look, you're right. But the reality is this. I'm making content for joy and for people to have joy. And I'm not here to hurt anyone's feelings or destroy their beliefs or feelings of what they have or like. And it's important to me that I want to make everybody better for it. Does it make sense? So that's why a lot of times I'll say things like, I don't like it, but hey, if you do, it's important to me that I'm not tearing somebody down. John says, Phil's only 6,000 subscribers away from 400 subs. When you get 400,000 subs, you know what you get? You get to say you have 400,000 subs. I can tell you right now, once I have 400,001 people, I'm going to tell anyone that asks, which is only apparently coffee baristas, that I have almost 500,000 subscribers. I'm on the right side of getting to 500,000 subscribers. So there you go. Claudia J says, Phil, you introduced me to a few bands that I never heard of, but I really like now. That's awesome. Thank you for saying that. That's awesome. I like that. Isn't being introduced to a new music that you like probably one of the best feelings in the world? What's funny is another band that I absolutely love is Biffy Clyro. And if you don't know Biffy Clyro, they're basically an Irish version of the Foo Fighters. Somebody's going to go right now is going, yep, and somebody's probably pissed off that I said it that way. But here's what it is. They are amazing. I happened to be in Europe, and they were listening to them in the car. And I'm like, who is this? And they're like, oh, everybody in the car is offended, right? What? It's Biffy Clyro. I'm like, I have no idea what you're talking about. And so I got their albums and I started listening to them and I love it. And I like Biffy Clyro in the US because here's why. Every single person I turn on to Biffy Clyro, they go, they're amazing. But no one knows who they are. So Biffy Clyro is another band I would definitely check out. Absolutely love them. Especially because you're gear nerds. If you're gear nerds, here's why you're going to love Biffy Clyro. If you don't know, he uses a metal zone into a PV amp and a Fender Hot Rod Deluxe, and he plays Fender Custom Shop Strats. So it's a Fender Strat into a metal zone into two basic amplifiers, a PV, I think it's a PV Classic. He has used other gear, don't get me wrong, he has all kinds of gear too, but that's his main rig and definitely wrote a lot of the hit songs and the bigger songs. And he's definitely they're one of those bands where you're like, I guess gear doesn't really matter, because he did exactly what we talk about. He took something that we all make fun of and he made hit songs out of it. So, all right, let's go to another one. This one is from Missouri NP. Says, as a fly fisherman with several thousand Winston rods, yes, I do have them hanging on the wall. They're also art. See? Good. I'm glad to know that. I kind of, like I said, I was curious. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. It's okay. Winston. Oh, sorry. I don't know why. Winston of the rods. Missouri NP. I will make you crazy right now. I've never told anybody this story before, so I'm gonna tell it to you guys because I know some guitar players will understand the story on a guitar level. You're going to understand it on a fishing level. It's going to make you nuts. So when my father passed away in like 2004, I think, it's been a while. As you guys know, I maybe don't know. I don't know. I was not really close to my father. So, it's kind of like when he passed away, my sister called me. She was upset. And so I went to help because she was upset. I hadn't seen him in a long time, so I was like, I don't know. So anyway, so he passed away. He was a fisherman, big time into fish. He had a bass boat, all the expensive fishing lures, reels, all this stuff. So I went and helped my sister. He was really into guns too. Obviously, fishing, guns, it makes sense. When I went to his house, we learned that he had guns everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. They were everywhere. Okay. He had like one in a holster, like at the side of the back door, like they could pull from in case somebody came to his back door. Anyways, the reason I tell you this, he had what I would only call a small small arsenal of bullets. So I had my brother-in-law take all the bullets to the police station. I didn't know what to do with this stuff. So we took it to the police station. I said, give it to the police station. And he said, they don't want it. I called him. He goes, I don't know, just take it to him. So I took all the guns. I had to take them somewhere. So I had to take them to my mother's house. She obviously and my father hadn't talked in years, and they lived on other sides of town because they didn't want to talk to each other. And I had to drive across town. I was driving in my Dodge truck, and it was like at 10 o'clock at night. I was talking to my mom, and a cop pulled me over. And he goes up, and I rolled down the windows. I have a standard procedure when the cops pull me over. I roll down all the windows, and I turn on the lights in the cab. And I have my paperwork ready. And he walks up to me, he goes, you know why I pulled you over? And I said, I have no idea. And he goes, you're doing 40. And I go, oh. And he goes, and the speed limit's 70. I'm like, oh. I said, well, I was talking to my mom. My father just died. I said, but I should probably point out there's a pile of guns in my backseat. And the cop, with his flashlight, looks at me, and he looks in the backseat, and he goes, oh, okay. Could you get out of the car? And I said, sure. So he gets out of the car, he asks me to go to the front of the car, and he looks at me, and he looks at the guns, and he goes, okay, explain this to me. And I said, my father passed away. I found out today he has an insane amount of guns. I took all the bullets, gave them to my brother-in-law. I have all the guns, and I'm taking them to my mom's house because I don't know what to do with them. I just thought I'd share that story with you guys. That is, and then the cop basically said, okay, well, could you please do the speed limit? It's dangerous to be, which I knew he really was probably thought I was drunk or something, right? So he just let me go, and we go. Now, here's why they tell you the story about the fish. He had this bass boat, okay? So he was, like I said, he was into fish like I am into guitars. He had this bass boat and all this fishing lures and stuff. My sister's like, you need to sell his bass boat. I said, okay. So Sean and I put the bass boat in the paper. And this kid came. I say kid, he was 20, right? And he comes to look at the bass boat, and he goes, I'll take it. And I was shocked because it was like, I'm pretty sure it was the same price of what my dad paid for it new years ago, right? And so anyways, now I know, because I'm a guitar player, what this means. I just don't know the actual value. The kid was so nice. Me and Sean looked at him and said, hey, do you want some fishing rods? And the kid's like, sure. And we pull out all my dad's fishing gear, which is probably like pulling out my guitar gear to you guys. And he goes, oh my God, what do you want for this? And we go, you can have it. Just take it with the boat. We just want somebody who can use it. Nobody we know fishes. And we didn't know anybody in the family. Nobody, no friends, no family, nothing. And this kid, I'd never seen a kid's face. I say a person that looked like they won the lottery. I equate it to where if somebody came probably to buy this amp, it's probably not to scale, but you get the idea, and they said, hey, take all these guitars with it. That's what that kid looked like. And so when you talk about your fishing pole, all those fishing poles and things and all that stuff and fish finders and all the stuff that my dad had we just gave it to this kid and made his day. So because we didn't know what to do with it. We're like, all right. So there you go. There's my story about giving away fishing rods. So the reason I tell you that story is this. That's why it's important maybe to tell your family, even if you're not talking to them, maybe put it on a report or something, what everything's worth. Because I have no idea to this day. I don't know, so you know, and neither does Shauna, if we gave that kid $50,000 worth of stuff or $10,000 worth of stuff or $2,000 worth of stuff. I have no reference. It would be literally like, imagine someone you know right now, you guys watching, someone you know who has nothing about guitars, and you have this collection that you see behind me right here, and you gave it to them and asked them to get rid of it, and then found out they just handed it to the first person for $50, right? That's what it could have been, or we don't know. But I learned from that two things, and that's why I've shared this with you over the years. When you die, your kids aren't going to want your stuff. I didn't want any of his stuff, so my kids don't want any of my stuff. And two, maybe make a list of what they probably should get rid of the stuff for. So if that helps. So yeah, RRD says fishing gear is worth a lot. I got that. Here's what I know. The boat we sold, because we had the invoice of what he paid for it. He bought it new like 5 years before, and we sold it because we looked up what it's worth. It sold for, I think, the same or more than what he paid for it, this bass boat. So I was like, I got the vibe that it was like our stuff. It was worth money. But, I wasn't going to educate myself on fishing gear for the next year. And you can tell, if you ever never been through an experience like that, your mind is not where your mind is normally. Like, I'm in crisis mode. I should also point out, unfortunately, not to make anybody bummed out, I promise we'll jump subjects now. My when he passed away, it was right when my daughter was born. So I had to leave Shauna alone with literally days from being in the hospital with, out of the hospital with the baby to deal with this stuff with my dad. So we were really trying to get back to, the baby situation, So there you go. Rummy, hopefully you got something else for us to talk about. It says, Phil, have you ever scored a great used guitar which the seller did not like because he was inept in setting it up? I scored an Ultra Strat this way. I haven't, because it's an ethics thing with the store. I was presented that so many times. In other words, a customer would come in going, I bought this guitar, it's junk, I want to sell it to you and get something else. And ethically, I would grab it and go, oh, dude, your action is like a mile. Let me, and then you give it back to them and then they play it and they go, oh my God, oh, I didn't know. Yeah, you're like, yeah. I know some people accuse me of bashing on Guitar Center a lot, but they deserve it because there's a lot of things to bash about them. But Guitar Center was the best at selling people the wrong stuff. Not that I'm saying mom and pops weren't bad at it too, but they were definitely the best at it when it comes to selling a beginner a $1,500 guitar with high action and frets sticking out and problems. And then the beginner think it's them because they spent, beginners by nature, if they don't know anything, they know if they spend $150 on something, a guitar or bow and arrow or whatever hobby they're getting into, they know they got the cheap thing, they know it's gonna have problems. But a lot of beginners use the money logic, like, oh, I'm gonna buy something really good, right? So they buy an expensive guitar, and then when they have problems with it, they just assume, rightly so, that the problem is them. And a lot of times they would come into stores, small stores, I was one of those stores, and exactly what you're saying. They were like, and trust me, there is a small voice, it's very small, a voice in your head that says, I don't know, man, you should let them take advantage, because you're a store, you're like, oh, I can make money, I'm a business. But there's that bigger voice that says, hey, doing the right thing builds a quality customer relationship for years and it pays a dividend. And so you always err into that. And I'm happy I did, because, I'm right that it pays more dividends in the long term. But because of what you're saying, yes, I've been presented with a scenario, but it's a personal thing. Like if a person was doing it personally and I was just, I don't know if I would care. I would probably take the deal, right? Take the deal. You're not here to police and mother and father every person out there. But as a business, I think if you're going to become a business, there's two things you have to take into consideration that are very important. You're responsible, like a parent is responsible to a child, for your employees and your customers. Some people don't like it when I say that. I've had that pushback before, like that I'm somehow making it sound like customers and employees are, I don't know, whatever, children. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying it's your job to love them if in business. It's why we hate big corporations, because big corporations, it feels wrong because it is wrong. A business should be something that does have the customers and the employees' best interest in mind at all times. That's what we like about businesses. It's why we always say go to mom and pop businesses, right? Because we're hoping that is the nature, that is the philosophy there. Although I have big corporations, I think, that have that philosophy. They lose it, but some have it. But yeah, so in that nature, anytime that was presented to me, I would always take the high road and take care of them. But yeah, it happens a lot. In fact, way more than you can imagine. I mean, I would love to say it happens like once a month. It'll happen 3-4 times a week for a period of 13 years. So, people get the wrong stuff or have problems with it and don't know how to adjust it and fix it. So that's how it goes. This one is from, I don't know how to say, I'm going to say it's Eric Hensley 67. I think I'm saying it right. It says, I'm wanting to salvage a guitar damaged in shipping, dime-sized chip, okay, all right, in the finish, knowing you don't fix finishes. Are there any recommendations for shops that could send it to? I can't find any locally. I don't have any suggestions of shops, but you definitely want to look for shops that build guitars and finish guitars, not repair shops. Because a lot of repair shops just do repair. You usually, to me, if you want repairs done and you want them quickly, you want to look for shops that specialize in repairs because they're not doing big projects like building guitars or custom guitars for people too, because sometimes that can gunk up the process. But if you're looking to do finish work, you need to find finish people as well. So I would look into that. I don't know where you are in the country, so I wouldn't know who to suggest to you. I can tell you in the Phoenix area, Atomic Guitars is probably where I would send finish work to be done. In the Phoenix area, that's in Arizona, that probably won't help you, but at least it tells you, there's somebody. Go from there. Let's go ahead and do the guitar of the week. Guitar of the week. I still have not used, the user made a song and I still haven't used it. I apologize, but it's with so much going on, it's hard to put everything in there. So let's do this.
Now it's time for Guitar of the Week.
Okay, so if you guys don't know, Guitar of the Week is this idea that I share a guitar with you every week. That is not like a sponsored video. I don't know if I know I've talked about guitars that were sponsored, like the Heritage and stuff, because it's sent to me, but that was personal. They sent it to me and stuff. These guitars are not supposed to be promotionally. I'm not promoting product to you. I'm sharing just things that I think are interesting and have interesting stories. And I really wanted to share this one because I think this is a perfect time to talk about this, to teach us, tell a story and teach a lesson. Today's Guitar of the Week is this 2009 Parker Dragonfly in Candy Tangerine. This is actually a burnt orange. They called it burnt tangerine or something finish. This I did a small video talking about when I acquired this guitar, but I have not done an official review. This will be the official review of this guitar. If you guys don't know, Parker Guitars is out of business. They no longer exist. There are some misnomers. People think this guitar is carbon fiber or some kind of extruded finish, kind of like an Aristides or something like that. This guitar is a mahogany, one-piece mahogany body jointed to a one-piece mahogany neck. So this guitar is two pieces. It is perfectly balanced. If I hold the horn, you can see I can hold it and it won't fall. I always freak people out when I do this. Trust me, I sold hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of Parkers over years, and I've owned a ton, and I feel pretty confident with what I'm doing with them. This one does have an interesting story because this is one of two guitars that exists like this. Now there are some, I wouldn't say totally, but you'll understand when I tell you the story. Okay, so what is this guitar? Well, a couple differences. This is a Dragonfly. This is a model they made slowly towards the end at Parker. The idea was to be less crazy looking, right? If you guys know, the Parker ones had the upper horn and they thought this was more conventional. I think their screw up was they really should have just said, screw it and make a guitar that looks more like a traditional guitar shape. They did, however, in my opinion, improve the headstock by adding this piece right here in the back. See this piece right here? How they did that? So now you could hang it. As you're gonna know, you couldn't hang the Parker headstocks. So why is this guitar special? This guitar is actually special to me because an employee of mine, Warren, sold it to me recently. If you guys, I'll put a link when I timestamp the video. He sold me his collection. Not all his guitars, but he called me one day and said, hey, do you know anybody interested in, I tell the story in that video, interested in buying some of these guitars. I was highly interested in this guitar, and I've told this story before. Sometimes when you want a guitar like this that's very expensive, this guitar probably has a value somewhere between, and this is what's crazy, $2,500 to $6,000. And I'm not exaggerating those two numbers. That's what this guitar is worth. I mean, it's worth what somebody's going to pay for it, but if you would have bought this 2 years ago, you would have paid $6,000. Now people probably expect to pay about $2,500 to $3,000 maybe. So I bought all his guitars in hopes that by buying a bigger chunk of his collection, he got the money he needed that he wanted at the time, and I got this guitar that I wanted. So the story on this guitar is kind of funny. So in 2009, we were dealing with the recession, if you call, and that's why this is an important story for now, because it was kind of like what's going on now. Same kind of market. Was soft, sales were slow, manufacturers were eager to sell things. I had a customer walk in my store, very professional gentleman, came in, he worked at, I believe, Intel, okay? It might have been Microchip, but either way, he was an engineer. And he came in and he says, I want a Parker. And of course, I was one of the few Parker dealers. I was the only Parker guitar dealer in the state of Arizona, but one of the very few ones on the West Coast, period. And he says, I want a Parker, but I want it blue flame top, but I don't want bursting on the sides. I said, okay, they don't currently have that in the catalog. Let me call Parker. So I called the Parker rep and I said, hey, I have a customer. He wants a Parker Fly, but he wants it flame maple top, blue, but he does not want any burst. He just wants to be solid color across. And they said, well, we can't do that because when we put maple on it, we put a veneer, and because the guitars, see how it's bent? We can't bend the veneer to all these angles. So what we do is we cut the veneer shallow, and then we spray a darker paint on the outside, and that's how we make it look like the whole top is maple top, but it's not, because it's just a solid piece. And I said, okay, well, then he's not interested. And they go, okay, well, hold on. We kind of need the work. I mean, the rep's like, look, we need, yeah, we'll do it. And I go, okay. He goes, but to do it, we got to do, the entire guitar's got to be a solid 4-inch block, because it's carved, right? So you see how they're carved? The block has to start at 4 inches thick because of these angles. We're going to have to do a 4-inch, one-piece block of maple, flamed, AAA flame maple for this customer. I said, okay, what's that going to cost? And he goes, well, normally, custom shop, $10,000. So I'm like, oh, okay, he's not going to do that. And he goes, for today, $200. $200 more than the normal price of a normal Parker. I go, oh, okay. So I call the customer back. Now, keep in mind, it's 2009. You're not even going to, the customer normal price on that guitar was going to be about $4,000. Even I couldn't get the customer to go $4,000 because the market was soft. I said, they'll do it, $3,500. Customer's like, okay, I'll do it. I go, okay. So I get back on the phone and I said, okay, he'll do it. And then I go, what other things would you do for $200? And he says, oh, anything you want. And I said, okay, can I get a Dragonfly? I go, with the new headstock. And I go, and can I get it in candy orange? And I can get another one in a lime gold that looked like this guitar behind me, this Gino. And they said, sure. It was a $200 add-on. I ordered those for the store. And then I did 2 matching Mojo flies in mahogany with the Dragonfly headstock. And these guitars showed up. And then when they showed up, immediately after, we got a letter from Parker saying, please take down anything that says Dragonfly. They got a cease and desist. They had to change the name of this. They can't call it the Dragonfly anymore. And anyways, I ordered these guitars because I was, thinking, oh, these are cool. And of course, it was 2009. So guess what happened? They showed up and they just sat on the walls. No one was interested in these beautiful, unique pieces. So as I would do a lot of times in the store, which I think you should do in business, is if you're going to have to give away, give it away, find somebody worthy. So currently to this day, there is this lime gold version of this. It's owned by my buddy Pat. He's a customer. He's he was the very first customer in my store. I think he was the very first person I ever walk in my first store and buy a single thing, I think. If not, he was one of the first customers ever. So Pat currently still owns the lime gold version of this. And then Warren, I don't remember if Warren was my employee at the time or if he was just a customer, because a lot of my employees were customers that, when I needed somebody to work, they'd go, I'll take the job. And so he bought this one. And then so when he was saying this, he listed this in his collection. I go, I would love to have this, as that memory of this was just a cool guitar. So let's talk about this guitar and what makes it cool, besides the fact that it is if you're not a Parker fan, there's a lot of things about this guitar that probably aren't exciting to you. This is unique because it is a mahogany body, mahogany neck. A lot of the Dragonflies weren't. A lot of them were like basswood bodies our basswood necks with alder bodies or poplar bodies, all kinds of combinations. But Eric says, too ugly for you. It is not a beautiful looking instrument. What it is, though, is one of the best, engineered and crafted guitars on the planet Earth, which is why I believe Parker guitars could not sustain. This is a mahogany neck, mahogany body. I know I keep saying that. This is carbon fiber fretboard that is paper thin with stainless steel frets. It has 24 stainless steel frets that are glued on, so they're epoxied on. And then the nut is carbon fiber, but it's also connected to the piece of fretboard that is paper thin. And that's where the guitar gets a lot of stability. It has carbon fiber rods in the neck, but also because the fretboard is carbon fiber, it makes this really strong, which is why what's unique about Parkers, if you don't know, is that they are the thinnest at where the neck meets the body. Talk about a handshake. It's like holding the neck here feels like holding the neck here. Then it has their special bridge that has a transducer system. So it has a piezo system, which is acoustic. You can set the bridge to be full floating, forward only, or hardtail. Just a little turn of a dial right there. Turn of a dial right here. And then this turns the tension, so you can actually change the way the tremolo feels, how light or hard the tension is. So pretty cool. I am too big to do it, too hefty. But I have been to a Parker event where an employee of Parker was probably about 160 pounds, put one of these guitars on 2 bar stools and then put his weight on it and supported his weight with this guitar. That's how crazy reinforced. The entire back of the guitar is also a sheet of carbon fiber. Behind the neck, which is if you look at it in certain angles, you guys won't be able to. You can see the little carbon fiber weaving underneath this paint. That's why all carbon fibers are painted on the back and the front. If they're painted in the front or they're wood, it's because this is wood, but the back is carbon fibers. They sandwiched it. To do this, if you haven't seen it, it's pretty cool. I've been there and seen it. They literally pull the carbon fiber out of a freezer, walk-in freezer. They apply it to the guitar, and then after they glue it on, they put the guitar in a pizza oven and they cook it to make this guitar super hard and crazy. So what I'm going to do is I'm playing through the DGT 15. Let me move my chair, if you guys don't mind. And let me do this. A couple things here. Oops. Let's do that so I can see. Whoops. There you go. All right. And I'm going to switch the camera view for you guys. Okay. So you can see me right here. Here I am. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with just the neck pickup, running the amp clean. Okay, and I'll play the neck. I'll play just a couple things for you. If you guys don't mind, I'll just tell you what I'm doing when I'm changing stuff up, just so you get a sense of the guitar. Okay, so here is the neck pickup. Now, what's cool is it also has the acoustic. This is the acoustic pickup, so this will be just the acoustic. I've always thought the acoustic on these were a little thin, but I'm not running it through an acoustic amp. I'm still running it through the DGT. Let's go ahead and let's hear the amp, or sorry, let's hear an overdrive pedal. So I'm running an OD11 through the amp real quick. And a little Atlantic delay. Okay, and now what I want to do is I'm going to switch it over from the OD11 to the bridge pickup. Now I'm going to switch it to an 87 LPD pedal. Here's the 87 LPD pedal. So the idea when they made these, they wanted to make something very versatile. Let me move back over here. It's a little easier for me to talk to you guys. And of course, the guitars were very expensive. They're very unique. And this one is just a little bit different than the typical ones. You can see how I'm just holding it like it's like air, so you guys know. This guitar is actually heavier than my other Parker Fly. My other Parker, if you've ever seen it's white, that one's I think 4 pounds 2 ounces. This one is like 5 pounds 1 ounce, maybe 4 pounds. Like, oh no, what am I I do. No, it's like it feels like air. See, you can hold like that. How crazy is that? I know you guys are like, oh no, he's gonna drop it, but I mean, literally, it's like holding a styrofoam guitar almost. This has Duncans in it. I think it's a JB and a Jazz is what's in this one. I can't remember exactly. It might be a JB 59, but I think it's JB Jazz. So any questions on the guitar? Anything interesting about it that you'd like to know? That's the whole point, to share something a little different, a little fun. Okay. And it's perfect time for me to drink a little water, if you don't mind. RRD says Adrian Blue would love it. Yeah, he had 2 Parkers. Adrian Blue, reference. He had a regular Parker that was all decked out, but he had his own signature model that came in this orange, and it was only exclusive to him. So when they did that's what I was going for, was the Adrian Blue, and this orange. At the time, it was not allowed. This color was off limits, but they were desperate. Later, they did an import version of the guitar and put that orange on it, probably to kind of capitalize on the Adrian Blue. Adrian Blue, the guitar player, if you guys don't know who he is. Somebody says, it's not a Gibson. It's not a Gibson. You know, what's funny is I remember this, and it's one of the saddest things I ever remember. I remember seeing them, how they make a Parker guitar. I was telling Dr. Andre Flood, if you guys don't know his channel, he's a huge Parker fan. And we have a podcast coming out where we did a podcast together, and we talked about a bunch of stuff. And I'll probably be releasing that in the next less than a week. I told him this story, I think on the podcast or maybe just personally, but either way, I said, when I saw what it takes to build a Parker guitar, and I saw them build one, I remember thinking this afterwards, not saying it to anyone, just mulling it in my head, thinking, they're going to go out of business. There's no way you can make a guitar like this. And then it wasn't long after that, they went out of business, probably about a year or 2 after I had that thought, and then they went out of business. And I remember hearing somebody say this, and it's literally what I was thinking. I said, they're making a $10,000 guitar for $3,000. And literally, when they went out of business, they said, we went out of business because we were making $10,000 guitars for $3,000. And I know a lot of people, like, when they go, oh, like we talked about earlier with Sir or with Fano, like, oh, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. $10,000, $3,000. It is ridiculous. But if you can watch a video on YouTube of them making Parkers. It's a really low res, not great quality video, but I highly recommend you watch it. If you watch it, there is no sane person, I think, or you're just totally uneducated about the guitar industry in every way, is the only way you could come to any conclusion other than the one I came to, with after watching them build a Parker, going, why it's the most insanely made instrument, electric guitar ever made in history, and why it'll never exist again in this form, in the way you see it, the way I know. And that's why I have an affection for them. So, for those that say I don't love the way they sound, I'm not really particular into the way it sounds. I think it sounds great in its own way. I wouldn't pick it as my only guitar, obviously. I wouldn't pick any Parker as my only guitar. And I think all the things that people say negative about Parkers, I totally agree with you. I'm 100% on board. They're kind of ugly. They're kind of weird. They're kind of strange. You say whatever you want to say. You're not going to offend me. I'm like 100% agreement. However, I think, they remind me of the companies that were more interested in advancing the guitar industry and doing something different, and not so much going, hey, how can I can make my guitar look like an old Gibson and Fender and beat it up too and charge you a fortune. Not that I kind of sounds like I'm being crappy to those kind of companies. I don't mean to be crappy towards those kind of companies. I think they have a place, and I own a lot of those kind of guitars too, but I think I just get excited when I see somebody doing something so different. Lou just said over-engineered. It is super over-engineered, Lou, to the point of insanity. And if anything, like I said, I told you I've sold hundreds of thousands of dollars of these guitars, so I'm familiar with them on an intimate level. I've repaired them, I've fixed them. Selling things, if any of you guys do sales, you learn intimately real quick a lot about a product, more so than anybody else when you have to sell it, because you know what you're going to have to deal with when you're dealing with customers, especially with expensive things like this. And I can tell you the one problem with Parker is that when they're made right, they are perfect and they last forever. And if they do anything wrong, there's problems. And when you have that, you cannot do high production. You got to keep the production low. So I thought it was fun, but I also like the story because it's a perfect story to talk about now. I believe that story I just told you about this guitar in 2009 applies to today. I bet you today, I had somebody send me an email this week saying a guitar company that they were dealing with is like, oh, they're raising their prices and they're taking away options. And I'm like, okay, I promise you right now, any company doing that strategy is going to be feeling some pain in the next year or two. I think the market's soft now, and I think companies the companies that don't say yes, the companies that, I'm not saying they have to give away the farm. I'm just saying it's going to be a lot easier to purchase things if you're in the market for things. And I want you to know that because I think it's important to educate you as consumers as well, to know this is the time, if you're going to buy something, you're going to get not only a good deal, but you're going to get a lot more yeses than nos, especially if you were out there 2 years ago looking. And this guitar is a reminder of that, because this guitar only exists because the market was soft, and they would rather say yes and make some money than say no. Dr. Frankenstein says Parker was the opposite approach to, say, Leo Fender. They were the opposite approach to everybody. I don't know very many companies that went that crazy to make something over. A lot of people are confused about what Parkers were. Parkers generally were created for the concept of Ken Parker, a ton of reasons. I mean, there's a ton of stories, but the main thing to focus on is that Ken Parker wondered why the guitar was thickest at the part where we wanted to play here. It was Everything Is Your Way, and he was trying to figure out how can you make that thinner. And like I said, when you look at a Parker, if you've never realized it, it is the thinnest, absolute thinnest at where the body meets the neck, which is why some players who love to play them absolutely love them. Plus, the tremolo is an amazing tremolo. It's on ball bearings. It's very nice. The tremolo is sitting on 2 ball bearings, and that's why it sits. That's why it's got these 2 bumps. See, right here on each side. And then how you raise and lower the tremolo is there's 2. See these 2 screws right here? You turn these Allen wrenches here, and then the bridge lowers and raises off that. And that's why when you look at it from the side, it just moves so effortlessly. I mean, it's just beautiful. Beautiful tremolo system. So you can see why. I think their big mistake was they tried a couple of things. They tried a ton of things. I think they should have just made a traditional looking guitar with this technology in it and gave people the option to go crazy Parker looking or, kind of more not so exciting. I think that would be my suggestion, but it's too late now. If there is always rumors that Parker will come back, the company that owns them, there's the company that owns Parker still owns Washburn and Randall and stuff. And here's what I think. Will Parker ever come back? It'll come back maybe as some version of itself, but never itself. It will never be what you see here. It'll be some version of it. And we'll see. I would love for them to come back, but I got a feeling it'll never come back the way it is, which is why they're going up in value like they are, because people who love them know you can't get them. YB says, Philip, what are your thoughts on Music Man's guitars? I love Music Man guitars. I never had a chance to try them, trying to move on from Parker. No. We're going to talk about Parker some more. No, Music Man, obviously there's Music Man right behind me. It's a JP 13 7-string. Music Man, I think, is probably some of the highest quality instruments made in the USA. For sure, without a doubt. I mean, their fretwork is flawless. Their necks, everything feels fantastic. It's about the easiest thing to think of. I'm still looking for the perfect Access guitar. Access being, Music Man Access. I want one, but I had one. I didn't love it. It was heavy, and I didn't like the top. So it's one of those things. Like if I find one that's not heavy and has a nice top, I might get it. Bobby wants to know, have you seen recent Ken Parker videos? I have. Yeah, I'm very, like I said, I'm a big fan of Ken Parker, so there's no question there to everything he does. It's awesome. Everything from his jazz-style guitars now to you name it. Parker Anthony says, I got a P38 import for $450 this week on eBay. Yeah, their import guitars are fantastic as well. A lot of them were made in the World Manufacturing Factory in Korea. Let's play some fast questions. Ryan says, hey, Phil, what is your favorite acoustic amp and why? It is the Fishman Loudbox Mini. Is my favorite. I had the Mini and the Micro. The Micro is cool. I thought the Mini was just a little fuller sounding, and although very little, I decided to keep that one and not the Micro. But the Micro is fantastic. I think I can tell you this, if you got the Micro, you'd be happy. The Mini is just a little bit bassier sounding for in the room. I've owned so many damn acoustic amps, and there's lots of. I mean, I've had the SWR Blonde, the Strawberry Blonde, the California Blonde. I had the old Fishman loud boxes before this. I had what's the one that A&E or whatever Godin makes that I like. I've had so many acoustic amps. I had the Fender ones. Those are great. Those are really inexpensive. Ultralight ones are pretty good. The newer ones. I've had the Crate ones. I've had so many ones over the years. They were all good. I don't remember like anything about any particular one being worse or better than others. I just, I like the Fishman Loudbox now. That's what I have now, the Mini. And I think it's priced well and it sounds great. And I like it. I like it for what I do, which is at home. I'm not doing any acoustic gigs, small gigs. And so it's probably great for that, but I like it at the house because, and so a lot of you may ask now, probably thinking like, why do you use an acoustic amp with an acoustic at home? Because I use a looper pedal. If I'm playing acoustic, 90% of the time I'm running it through a looper pedal. I like acoustic more so than electric for writing song ideas and working out ideas and working out, concepts and just working on things. And I like to loop and then play along with loops or kind of come up with different ideas with the loops. So I like having a little looper and a little acoustic, and that's why I want the amp. And I want the amp to be just as loud as another acoustic player because I want it to feel like another acoustic player is in the room playing something as well. Okay, hold on a second. All right, hold on. Let me go back. To here. We have I have no idea how to say this. I'm going to say Thor because there's like a lot of letters. Okay, Thor says, howdy, burning question. Why the hell are cork guitars as good as non-existent in the US? Even online, they're almost impossible to find. What gives? Well, cork guitars is just recently trying to push the Korg brand like not before. Korg Guitars is one of the largest guitar manufacturers in the world, and they make so many brands, everything from Strandberg to, they make guitars for PRS, they make guitars for Ibanez. I mean, they make so many great guitars. They have their own brand and have for many years, but the world has changed, okay? And a lot of times, brands like Korg, what they would do is they would get a sales rep and they would sell their brand to small stores. And the logic being, because people don't realize this, because guitar players, you guys probably think more like guitar players and less like guitar business. And I understand that. But sometimes understanding the business is understanding why the guitars work the way they do. Korg guitars, Samet guitars, a lot of off-brand guitar companies like those, they worked in this idea, the idea of some stores couldn't get premium brands like Fender, Gibson, Paul Reed Smith, Music Man. They either couldn't afford them or they couldn't get approved to be a dealer. Maybe they didn't have the clientele. There's all kinds of reasons why they couldn't get the brand. And so those stores need brands. So a lot of brands used to live, and still kind of do, in the idea that they go where the big brands aren't, right? So you got, Mike's Music in Montana. I just made that up. I hope there's not a real Mike's Music in Montana. And he would like, hey, I need some brands. And, he's not going to pony in for Gibson, and Fender's saying no for whatever reason. And he's like, I need some guitars. And so there's brands like Korg, and they would say, hey, we'll sell you guitars. And he would carry Korg, and he would have quality instruments, especially for smaller mom and pop stores that are really focused more on students, right? And students need quality instruments. So it's a lot nicer to sell them something like a Korg guitar that is good because they're building guitars for premium brands, but is in the price range where a student would buy. And students are usually not brand connected yet. They're not like, I only will play a Paul Reed Smith, even though I'm playing guitar for 6 minutes, right? So that's where Court and a lot of brands lived in that world. That world is not the same world as it was before. First of all, mom and pop stores have really changed their marketing a little bit, but also more importantly, there is a lot more sales online now. And so that model doesn't work for online. So now brands like Court realize if they want to continue, not only they can still sell to mom and pops and do that plan I just told you, they really need to sell online. And selling online means marketing, right? And getting online. So they're slowly working on it, but they don't have the distribution yet. A store like Sweetwater isn't picking up Court guitars at this moment because they don't really need them yet. Sweetwater only needs a brand if a customer wants a brand. That's Sweetwater and Guitar Center for the most part, and those companies' logic is they're not looking for a guitar to bring a customer per se. They're looking for a customer, and then they want the customer first. They want in other words, customers come to them. Customers want Court guitars. Okay, they don't have Court guitars. They get Court guitars. Okay, they don't get Court guitars and then go try to find Court customers. That's what I'm trying to say. So a perfect example, if you guys didn't hear, Sweetwater just is now carrying Suhr guitars. So same thing. Sweetwater isn't buying Suhr guitars and now going, okay, now we got to find people who want Suhrs. They have people who want Suhrs, so they brought in Suhr guitars. That's how it works for those brands. That's how it's working for most online. Most online is, I want the brands that the customers I already have want, or customers, that want. So that's what's happening with Court. They gotta get out there. Obviously, you've seen it more and more. They're sending more and more YouTubers guitars. They've sent me guitars, Dale Braun guitars. I think Aggifish, I can't remember if he did Court or not. Fluff did them. That's how they get them out there, right? We're small, but we're the YouTubers that a lot of people are watching or catching videos of, just like the old Guitar World ads, and that's how we get that on there. I said this before. I'm very upfront about everything. You can ask me literally anything when it comes to how the business model works on my YouTube channel, how it works. I always tell you there's only 3 reasons to make a video. You want it, I want it, or a company wants it. And then based on that is how I decide how we're going to charge or not charge for the video. So in other words, when you guys go, I want this video, I want you to do a video on this, and I say you guys meaning the majority, I feel the sense is that you guys want this. I make that video because you guys want it, and I'll get views, and you'll be interested, and my time I feel good about putting my effort in this, because I think not only will you watch it, but for a long time people watch it. If I want to make a video, Emerald Guitars comes to mind because I really wanted to do a video on that guitar because I really wanted that guitar. I did that guitar for me. And if you guys were interested in the guitar, great. And if you weren't, great. It's for me. And that's why Emerald Guitars didn't have to give me anything to do that video. I wanted to do it. I wanted to try an Emerald guitar, and if I loved it, I'd like to hold on to it for as long as possible. And that's why I said I'd do it. But sometimes a company reaches out to us and they say, hey, we want you to put this product in front of your viewers. And sometimes I'm like, well, okay, the viewer's been asking about that. That sounds perfect. It happens all the time. You guys have been like, hey, have you heard of the new blah, blah, blah? And then blah, blah, blah. Because you asked me, because you saw it somewhere else, they reach out to me and they want it on the channel. And we say, okay. But sometimes they're like, hey, we want you to make a video about our product. I'm like, okay, well, then you have to pay us because, the audience isn't asking for it. I'm not super interested. I wasn't going to do it on my own. But yeah, it's nice because it helps fund the channel. As I've told you guys before, I make no apologies about this. As I've pointed out, that 95% of my revenue does not come from companies, but companies pay 10 times more than I make if I make a video independently. It's a tough balance beam or tightrope, or whatever you want to call it. Whatever I've been balancing for the last 7-8 years, it's been a tight rope to walk because as I told you guys, in fact, I was telling somebody this week, we were talking about that Rickenbacker video I was talking about last week, and I was saying how I made $800, for 4 days worth of work. A lot of people didn't catch that I said it because I said it really quickly, but I did say it. A company would have paid me double that just to unbox a pedal for you guys. So, but I thought that video was great. You guys asked for it, and I was happy to make the video, and I'm happy. But if I was just, if it's just a business, it's like, open up the newest pedal and you can make twice as much money for a quarter of the amount of work. So it's just like I said, so back to chord guitars. I like them. So if they want promotion on the channel, I like talking about it. I think they make great stuff. I like the fact they make everybody else stuff. They're a brand I want on there. And that's why I said some brands reach out. They don't understand because I'm not really excited to put out their product because you guys aren't asking for it. I'm not asking for it. And, so they got to give us another incentive to do it, which is usually some kind of compensation so we can use that funding to make other videos. All right. We need more banjo reviews. Oh, Max is who's saying that. Please don't. Hope that's not true. I have poked outside my comfort zones many times in videos for you guys. And every time I look back, I go, I don't know why I did that video. Because whatever, you guys kept talking about it, so I did it. All right. Okay, let's keep going. We'll keep the flow going because we're gonna button up the show here. Let's go to T-Size. T-Size says, "Hey Phil, thoughts on lace sensor pickups? I bought a '93 Made in America Strat Plus. The Strat Plus is one of my favorite Strats of all time. Deluxe comes with blue, silver, red sensors. Always wanted '80s Clapton golds. Don't want to replace them if they are too different. They're a little different. They voice their pickups a little bit differently. My Strat has the blue, silver, red series set in them. I like the gold set. I do. I like the red, blue, silver more. The reason is because to me, that set is so different than a traditional single coil pickup in the way it sounds. It sounds a little bit different to me. So I like having that as an option. But here, if I didn't show you, I'll show you now. So this is my custom shop copper Strat, if you guys remember. Since I have, sorry, my nose is itching. Since I have the Delos now, I return this back to what I always wanted it to be, which is basically a Strat Plus, which is what I was going for, right? So this has as you can see, has the red, silver, and blue set in it. And then it's traditional wire. I don't have a TBX pot or anything like that in it. Just tone, and volume. Everything's pretty standard. Sadly, if I never play this thing anymore. Isn't that sad? I wish I did. I love it. I need to, now that I pulled it out, I'm going to set it right here, and I'll probably play it tomorrow. But I haven't been playing it because, like I said, I play my Delos a lot. But yeah, so I love those pickups. And why would you switch to golds? I don't know. Don't. You're not missing anything. Grumpy Mike Guitar says, for the tone jar, why not? What sort of new gear would get you super excited? A guitar, an amp, a pedal. Lately, it's been amps for me. So the most excited piece of gear I've definitely put my hands on this year is the Line 6 HX1. The patrons have seen the video, I think. When I say I think, I don't know what levels. There's different levels of patrons, and that's how releases happen. Usually all patrons at all levels get to see a video like a day or two before it goes out on the main channel, so they can I like to get feedback on it. So sometimes people will say, hey, they ask questions, and when those questions are asked, I go add that into the video so that maybe viewers don't have to just be left with those questions. And then sometimes there's corrections of spelling, or sometimes corrections of just something I said or missaid. But they help me make the video, essentially. In this case, there's when it's a true preview video, I give it to the high, because it's a size thing. The highest tier is the smallest tier of people, right? I'm trying to keep it secret. So I'm giving it to the smallest tier, and then when it gets a little closer, when I can release it, I give it to the next tier, and then to the full body of patron and members, channel members get to see it too. So I'm not sure what tiers got to see it so far, but obviously I'm letting the cat out of the bag on that. It's my absolute favorite thing. Absolutely favorite piece of gear. As you guys know, I was always an M5 fan. That piece of gear, I'm super, super stoked. It's got a clickbaity title. I swear it's an honest title. It's not even, it's going to be sound clickbaity because, clickbaity titles are important, but it's a truthful title. And if you guys don't know, I've been talking about this and been talking about the fact that at one point I had 400 pedals, like a lot of you guys. I barely have 20 pedals now, 20 something pedals total. And that's as a YouTube entity, you know what I mean? I can honestly say if I wasn't doing YouTube videos, I'd probably be down to like 8 or 10 pedals now. And it's mostly because of the HX1 now and the M5. There is something in the video I didn't say in the video, and I'm going to add that in the video because I never at the end actually disclosed. I just said, I don't want to give away too much because, again, I want you to watch the video. But which one I would pick, I'm going to add that. But if you can't figure out now, it's the HX1 just for a couple of the reasons I said in that video. But that piece of gear, Grumpy Mike, is a piece of gear I'm really excited about. What else have I been super excited about this year? I mean, obviously the Heritage guitar is great. I mean, there's a lot of stuff I get to check out that's really cool, but I'm trying to think of something that I've been super stoked about. There is a new amp pedal that is really cool that will come out in a week, and that's pretty cool. I'm excited for that for a couple reasons. I know I got to be vague, but it's a release, so it's like embargoed, right? I'm part of that marketing release. I don't know how many YouTubers. I don't know if you're going to get flooded with 50 YouTubers or if it's just me and 2 other YouTubers. I'm not sure. I didn't ask. As I told you, I'm not really usually part of the big marketing pushes. Every once in a while, if I'm on there, it's usually because, they're hitting every channel, so they might as well hit me too. But sometimes, in this case, what happened was I was super interested in the product. So it's really easy. Like the DGT, I told you guys, I didn't get it till the Friday before, but I begged PRS to be part of the initial drop on this because I was so excited about a 15-watt amp with reverb and tremolo that was kind of like a Fender amp, from PRS. Especially because, like I told you, I like the Dave Grissom 30-watt. This little micro amp pedal is really cool, and I'm excited because it's affordable, especially for what its value is, and it's not made in China product. And I'm not going down any roads about that statement. I'm just saying when things are inexpensive and made in China, besides all the political things and all the people say in the comments, that's fine. My whole logic is like, okay, yeah, I get it. I get it why stuff is inexpensive. It's made in inexpensive ways. This is a product that happens to be like what we've been talking about with the market, happens to be made, I can't say where because that'll kind of disclose where it is, but it's made in a premium place, in a premium factory, by a premium brand, but it just happens to have a very low price point to it, which is they're trying to grab market right now. So that's pretty cool. So when you see that video, I'm excited about that. What else am I excited about? I don't know. That's pretty much the 2 things. It's kind of feel weird that it's pedals that I'm excited about, and usually I'm not into pedals, but those 2 pedals I've been excited about. Matt Evans says, unless it's a front for money laundering, there is no way that lavish Gibson garage store in London can make money. What are they thinking? I don't think those stores are about money per se. I think it's about, first of all, so maybe you don't know this. So I'll help you out, Matt. Okay. Both, as far as I know, because I've been there, both Fender and Gibson have, I would say lavish. I mean, the Fender one's pretty lavish. I've never been to the Gibson one. I was never, but I've been to the Fender one. Fender's headquarters here in Arizona and at down in California, they have a place for artists to go. Because you can imagine, think about this. You're a Fender, right? Artists come in your town, okay? And either they're a Fender artist, so maybe you want them to go and talk to them about future product ideas or future things, or there's an artist that you're interested in getting, right? You got to wine and dine them a little bit, take them to dinner, right? And then they have usually a place, usually, like I said, a lavish place with couches and all kinds of cool things and flat screens and all kinds of guitars and amps and stuff, and where the musicians can hang out, okay, and talk. And so essentially Gibson Garage and all those things are just ways of making something for that they don't have to take. I don't think they're taking every high-end artist to the Gibson Garage. I think they take them probably somewhere else too. But that way, the artist that's like, maybe you want to give them a couple free Epiphones and let them tour with them and see what happens. I mean, there's all kinds of layers of how you have promotion, right? There's obviously Dave. Look, there's Dave Grohl, and then there's I don't want to make fun of somebody, so let me make fun of myself with a brand, right? Like, let's say using Paul Reed Smith as an example. In Paul Reed Smith world, there's John Mayer, and then there's Phil McKnight. So if I come to town, I'm going to get the Phil McKnight treatment, which is like, hey, here's the factory, and hey, here's here's, and maybe they hook me up with an SE, or maybe I'll get a t-shirt or something. And then, hey, promote our brand out there every time, hey, like us, right? They're trying to get me to like them. So we talk about them, anyone who's in front of people. And then John Mayer, of course, I don't know what his deal is, but I'm sure it's not that. I'm sure it's, they're taking him to Paul's house and they're having dinner and they're going out and stuff. So I'm just saying there's layers. So I think the Gibson Garage stuff, it's about promoting to smaller artists too, but also it lets, people get excited when they're in town about the brand. I don't think of it as a cash money thing as more of a marketing tool. It makes content. It's a discussionary topic. Look, we're talking about it. I've told you guys this before, and I don't think, no matter how many times I say it, I don't think it's going to ever really get to a majority of you. I'd be surprised if I can get 30% of you to ever understand how much money is spent in marketing versus anything else. I think most consumers, uneducated consumers, understand that, perfume marketing is probably 80% of its budget. Okay, no exaggeration, right? So if you took 100% of every dollar perfume spends to make perfume, 80% of it's in advertising. Movies, half of the budget. If it costs $300 million to make a movie, it costs $300 million to promote the movie, right? I think people understand that 50% of the budget of making a movie is in advertising. Guitar gear is not that far off. Advertising budget is definitely 30-40%. 50% of the cost. It's a huge part of the cost. So companies, it takes a lot. There's a reason why, this show is a perfect example. It's a perfect barometer of the success and failure of marketing. I tell companies, I use you guys all the time to educate companies, and then I try to use companies to educate you guys back. Here's how I explain to companies. There's 1,000, I don't know how many people, let me look. There's 1,073 of you hanging out live. This show, on average, will get 40,000 views, 30,000 views, and then that in streams for sure. So you got to, on average, 50 to 100,000 guitar players will watch or listen to this podcast every week. That's really you guys talking to me about subjects and questions and things you have in mind. And the question is, it doesn't work the way you guys think. You think I'm promoting to you. You guys are regurgitating what has been promoted to you to me, and we're discussing it. I have told companies, and that's why I've told you, I have already named them. I'm not going to do it because I'm going to be classy today. But there are a dozen people in this industry, heavy hitters that own guitar companies, pickup companies, amp companies, music, chains that watch this show because of what I've told them, and they start watching it and they see exactly what I'm saying. You guys bring up exactly what's been marketed to you, to me. Which means if they're being mentioned, their marketing is working, and if they're not, their marketing is not. And look at who doesn't get mentioned. It's all the time. It's the same. You can say on a weekly average, who are we talking about? We're talking about I'm not going to bring it up because I don't want to. You guys understand the point. I can name 10 brands right now, and all of you nod your heads to all 10 that we talk about every week. Because they're marketing to you guys. So you're curious about them. We're talking about them. So same thing with Gibson Garage. Gibson is a brand that essentially has been mentioned on this show probably more times than any other brand, or is equal to probably Paul Reed Smith, who both those two companies probably put more into marketing, them and Fender, put more into marketing than anybody when it comes to, the scale of it. And here it is working. It's working effectively. We're talking about it. We're talking about those brands. And then meanwhile, the brands with almost no budgets or low budgets, we're not talking about them. And everybody always thinks we're talking about the best gear. You're not talking, when we're talking Paul Reed Smith, Gibson, Fender, we're not talking the best. We're talking the best promoted. That's why we're talking about it. And that's what I've been trying to explain to you guys for a long time. And you guys I always tell you guys, there are 1,000 ways to market a brand to you. It is not such in your face as, hey, look at my video. Here I am holding the product, talking about the product. It's so subliminal. Sometimes it's in the background. I've said this before. Here's a funny story. I've done this with friends. I change the guitars around all the time because I'm usually doing a project, or sometimes I just do it for the looks. But sometimes what I have behind me changes what we talk about that week. If I have some Gibsons, we talk about Gibsons. I have some PRSs, we talk about PRSs. So it's a perfect example. Think about this. Somebody brought up Cort and why Cort guitars aren't promoted more. But yet I just told you they are being promoted more, and yet you brought them up to me this week. See what I'm saying? Their advertising is working. So, which the owner of Core Guitars watches this podcast, he's probably going to see this, and he's probably going to go, Phil's right. See, somebody mentioned us, which means our giving fluff guitars and sending guitars out there and talking is getting people talking about us. And the barometer isn't this show, because who cares? The barometer is because of this show, they can see it. It's like a window into what we're all seeing and who's promoting to you and how. So I just like these conversations. So, I always like this. That's why I like that you guys bring up other brands, like brands from like Texas Toast to, somebody's mentioned Hagstrom again. Hagstrom's another brand. Hagstrom's another brand that I keep seeing talked about by you guys. And I would definitely say I will get one and put one on the channel because you guys keep talking about it. And I said this this week to another fellow YouTube channel, and I said one of the things I don't like about guitar channels, YouTube channels, and I mean when I say don't like, I mean me, my channel. My channel is no different than all the other channels. You can argue that, we have different ways of talking, we have different ways of stuff, and maybe some people like to put a value on the integrity angle of it. That's fine. Okay, all that. I appreciate any kind words you have to say about me, and I appreciate all feedback. Okay, so both ways I'm good. But what I will tell you is sometimes what concerns me about guitar channels is not that they're all involved in the same marketing pushes all the time. What concerns me is that when I went to go buy a new car, I went and looked at car reviews, and all the car reviewers were reviewing essentially the same cars. Toyota Camry, Ford F-150, Honda Accord, Bronco, Ford Bronco. I mean, they were reviewing the cars that people buy. When I go on the guitar channel, sometimes one of my concern, again, it's about all channels, including mine, which is why I try so hard to put more products on my channel, even if they're not sponsoring, is sometimes I look at all the guitar channels and I go, these are the guitar channels, but yet half the brands, I've never heard of these brands. I don't even know what these brands are. And when I look at the brands as a whole, they're not even really the brands that, like a guitar channel is really excited about this weird off-brand. I mean, I understand it's inexpensive and maybe that's an interesting point, but like I said, maybe this discussion is great for me too, because I told you guys, I just recently reviewed a product and I cannot understand why the hell they sent this to me. I think that's where I told you guys, I don't have a positive review on it, but it's also because I'm confused why it's sent to me. And I mean, not to me personally, Phil McKnight, why it's sent to a guitar channel. I don't even view it as a guitar product, even though it's a guitar. I review it as like I said, it's a stereo with a guitar neck sticking out of it. So, and I don't know who, as someone who thinks I understand the industry, I don't know who's buying a low quality stereo system with a neck sticking out of it for $900. I just don't understand who's buying that. I don't grasp the concept of who's buying that other than maybe the hopes that if we influence channels talk about it, then you maybe buy it. But I don't really understand that world. Like I said, I think when I tell you guys that I think Sweetwater and companies who get, new brands like Sir, they go, hey, here's brands people want, let's put them in our store. I kind of, because I maybe had a store for 13 years, my logic with my channel works the same way. You guys want to see these brands, so I want to put them on my channel. It's not, I want to put brands on my channel and then figure out how to get you to like them. It's not, I don't really, somebody says Aero Brand. It's not Aero Brand. Isn't that funny? It's another company. I said no to Aero Brand, as I've told you guys before. Like I said, I'll end this subject with this, but I just want to say it because, again, I'm not here to offend anybody. If you like stuff, like it, okay? Like it, be independent and strong enough in your own, your personality to not take some, I don't want to curse, some idiot on YouTube telling you it's not great. So like it. But there are all these like plasticky guitars with speakers in them and stuff. I really just don't understand all this weird stuff. I'm like, who's this for? And if you like it, but I mean, I just don't understand who it's for. I feel like there's a lot of other products that people are really asking for. And then you'll figure out when I talk about it, because I'll talk about it. Maybe I'll just make a guitar of the week next week. We'll talk about it then. We can have a conversation about this product instead of releasing the video. Clan of Housecat says that BFR Majesty neck is starting to feel better. from all the buffing. Oh, cool, because they've been working on sanding it and buffing it. Might save it. Sucks. It's rare. Bali blue with a roasted flame maple fretboard. Yeah, I know. I was there with you. Like I said, I had the same issue. So I'm glad it's starting to work it out. Matt Evans says, why is it impossible to reverse engineer a Dumble? It's not. It's not, Matt. There is no magic. There is no magic in reverse engineering things. There is truth in like some components, some things, some finishes, some things are no longer produced or produced differently and therefore can't be done. But the reality is, no. Okay, look, there's a reason why, and again, my opinion. So let's start with my opinion and then I'll just give it to you. There's a reason why Ford can't make a 64 Mustang, okay? Like people pay, crazy money for a 64 Mustang. I'm just saying it as a whole, collectors, right? So you can imagine if Ford could make reproduce a 64 Mustang, collectors, people who can't afford it, that maybe want it, would buy it. But you can't. It's illegal. It's illegal. You cannot make a 64 Mustang, right? If you made a 64 Mustang right now and put on the road, the first person to die in it, you get sued. Plus, you never get it past anything. You never get it past because there's safety concerns, right? Ford needs crumple zones now, and you need all this technology. You need laps or shoulder belts, right? You have to have shoulder seat belts. There's somebody says 65. I don't really care because remember saying I'm not into cars. So my point is though, is a vintage car. They don't reproduce them because they can't. Okay, they can't make them like they did because the regulations on how they're made has changed. It's physically impossible. There is nothing stopping Fender from making a Fender the Strat the way they did in 1965, same year. So we'll use 65 as an example. There's nothing stopping Gibson from making a guitar exactly like the way they did. Any company can make a replica of the thing that we all covet, right? As you guys know, I like the old Swirled Universe guitars. They're now asking $10,000 to $15,000. I have an RG7 620 that's just like it that I bought for $350. It's the same exact guitar. Some people, every once in a while I say that, they go, well, it's not the same. It is. I have talked to the owner of Ibanez. I did an interview with Steve I where he told me that I actually knew a thing about the universe that he didn't know, and we were talking about it. I should show that footage one day. It was a really funny story. Anyways, we were talking about why they changed the universe, because later they did. My point is, Ibanez can make that guitar exactly the way they did. They can make another one. I don't know why they don't. I don't know why they don't make an Indonesian Swirled Universe for $2,000. I would definitely buy one, but they can make it. So my point is, same with Dumbles and stuff. They can make that stuff, and they do. Amplified Nation, Two Rock, all kinds of companies. Joe Bonamassa is going to tell you that it's not the same as the magical one. I told you, I'm a fan of connoisseurs. He's a connoisseur. What happens to you as you become a connoisseur, he's got an ear, and he can hear what's different about the $50,000 Dumble versus the Two Rock, okay? But the 99% of other players can't, okay? Because you have to have those amps and be intimately familiar with them on a level. So they can reproduce this stuff. We just saw Josh Scott reproduce the Klon for $99, the Build-A-Klon thing. I have had so many people tell me it sounds amazing, it sounds just like the real Klon, and even people have A-B'd it with real Klons and said they feel the same. I felt the same when I had a real Klon. I was happy to sell it. I was happy. I love the Zen Drive. I was happy to sell my original Zen Drive. I have the Love Pedal copy, and like I said, it's good enough. It sounds almost identical. I got a vintage tube screamer that I sold to a patron. That's great. It was an imperfect condition. It's a fantastic pedal. I have the replica that I bought for $31. What a weird number, but it's what I paid for it. Used, and I was like, I'm not keeping this $300 version when I got one for $31. So I've said this before. I think that you can get any vintage piece of gear you want in a replica, and the only people who are going to tell you, well, first of all, half the people that tell you that it's not the same, they have no idea. They have no idea, right? Every time I talk about Plexi amps, Marshalls and people, I no longer own any of my Plexi amps because they're too damn loud. And when people are like, turn it down. You can't. It's super loud. It's ridiculous. It's louder than any other Marshall, really. For some reason, they're just super loud. So my point is that you can get a Dumble, and you get an Amplified Nation one. You can get and there's a ton of companies. Clear Tone, right? No, what's the Sierra Tone makes one. Somebody says those are pretty good too. I've played a couple of Sierra Tone amps. They're really good, really good stuff. You can find all that stuff. It exists, and that's what reviewing gear and A/Bing it and having access to all this stuff taught me. Is I have, because of my YouTube whatever, this persona or whatever channel, I have played 4 59 Les Paul real ones. I've told you guys this now. And although I didn't get to hang out with them intimately and have them for a long period of time, they were all very nice, and none of them felt dramatically different to me than a replica of them. The only thing I noticed about all the real ones was they were a little lighter than the replicas, and the necks were a little smaller, chunky-wise than the replicas. But nothing in there, I could not get my head. It's besides the fact I don't have the money to. I mean, so it's not even that. But it's I can't go, okay, well, I don't know what makes this $400,000 cooler than the replica that I'm playing, especially when the replica can be made. Like I said, there's reasons why certain vintage things can't be remade anymore because either the companies don't exist or, that's why I said it's really interesting. Yeah, so I don't know. That's my little tirade. And I should also point this out too. There are a ton of pedals out there that I think when you plug a Dumble style pedals, that if you plug them into an amp, you get really damn close to the tone of what the Dumble does. That's really cool. And keep in mind, a lot of what Dumble does is what a Plexi does. It's just really loud. It's a really loud amplifier. There's a reason why John Mayer wants Dumbles. He's on a giant stage in front of 60,000 people. He needs it really loud. And Fender amps are not notoriously great for being really, really loud. They break up. They do things you don't want them to do. So that's my 2 cents, Matt. Hope that helps you. David says, "Hey Phil, do you think Supro guitars will ever come back?" I don't know. I don't know why they wouldn't. Supro was purchased by the company, and I can't remember the name of the company. I apologize. But maybe I have it right here. Hold on, give me 1 second. And then I don't have to guess. I don't have, what do I probably put under Supro? Supro? Oh, maybe not. Oh, here, okay. It is, maybe I don't have it. Oh, yeah, it's, oh, no, I don't know the name of the company. It's not on my thing. So, I've worked with Supro. So, I've worked with Supro and D'Angelico, Supro, and Pigtronics. And whoever owns them, Bond Audio. It's Bond Audio. So Bond Audio is the company. So the reason I say that is Bond Audio is the company in New York, based out of New York, that owns D'Angelico, Supro, and Pigtronics. All 3 of those brands are housed under the same one company. So I would imagine a company that makes Supro amps, but also makes guitars from D'Angelico, could eventually bring back Supro guitars. So it'd be interesting to see if they do. So I'd be interested to see if they do. I think it's a smart move if they did that. Why not? Especially with limited runs and stuff, do something cool. But I think it's possible that they could come back because of what I just said, right? You have a company that's already making guitars and they're making the amps. And they have a probably good relationship with the factory that makes the D'Angelico guitars in Indonesia and China. And I don't think they do any Korea anymore, but in Indonesia, China, they probably have the Supros made in Indonesia or China and get them out there. Last super chat. This is Craig says, "Hey Phil, looking at a second-hand Les Paul, how much of a problem are cracks on either side of the neck from the nut, just below the binding, about 2 to 3 inches long, no other visible neck damage?" So here's the deal in this. When you're buying guitars with cracked headstocks and stuff, first of all, it's definitely worth, if you're not super familiar with it and you're not haven't done those repairs, to take it to somebody who has done those repairs to see what the value is. But the thing to think about is this. the guitar has to offer you something that no other guitar can offer you because it has been damaged, and they are really hard to unload if you get it and you're not happy with it. So I do caution people from buying broken headstock guitars unless you're scoring a deal. Now, here's what I mean by that. If you tell me you can get a Gibson Les Paul for half the price of a normal Gibson Les Paul because it's had a headstock damage replacement, I would say half is a good place to start. So, but to answer your question, what you're looking for in the cracks is you're trying to see how deep it is. It's nice if you can get any information on who repaired it and who is the repairer. Was it not authorized, but an actual repair person that has a shop and maybe credible history, or was it just somebody, did it themselves or found somebody on Craigslist or whatever your accumulate, thing is. But I would definitely, I'm always cautious of the heavy repaired guitars because of the fact that, I'm not saying don't buy them. I'm just saying you should never have to question your logic. It should be a no-brainer. Like, yeah, I'll take a chance on this. But always, yeah. Brian says broken headstock equals deal killer. It's tough, and the reason I'm notice my tone. I always have this kind of tone, and I should just lean into what I'm thinking when I'm talking. What I'm really thinking right now, is I just told you the market's getting soft and it's going to get harder to sell things. I don't know if I would want to buy a problem instrument right now. It's not about making money or losing money. It's about, the truth is it's a buyer's market right now. It's a buyer's market again, I should say. This is definitely pre-2019. I don't think the market was as soft now as it was soft in 2019 as it is right now. This is definitely a good market to buy. So if you're in the market to buy, please, I said, be a decent person, okay? Right? I know sometimes the sellers in the boom market weren't decent people, and I know it happens both ways, but always good nature, just please be a decent person. But also, be true to your situation, which is right now, the person with the money's calling the shots, and so buy. I would not really. Unless you're getting a smoking deal, I wouldn't consider getting a damaged instrument that's repaired as a guitar right now because it's going to get tougher probably. My guess is probably for the next 2 years. Again, we're not talking about the economy. We're not talking about a recession. I'm not talking about all that stuff. I'm not even factoring that stuff in. I'm actually factoring, let's say if everything's great, this market is the adjustment to the boom that just happened. You have to regardless of what happens in the guitar industry, we do have to adjust from the fact that we were just going 150 miles an hour for basically 2.5 years when it comes to sales. And remember the speed limit's like 65. So now we're slowing down and we're probably now at like 55. So see what I'm saying? There's a lot of gear out there and it's going to take a while. Just looking at Reverb right now, looking at the number of guitars increasing listed on Reverb each week is getting interesting to see. It's growing and growing and growing. So like I said, Robert Baker was here earlier, not the YouTuber, but the lawyer who's a fan of the show and friend of the show. He was asking me about a deal yesterday, and I messaged him back and I said, so it comes into play here. I said, remember the saying I always said, there's always another deal, right? So my thoughts to you are, if they want to sell a guitar, they should prove to you that it's stable. They should prove everything is great and then give you the price that makes you comfortable. And if you're okay with that, you should buy it. And if you're not okay with it, there's another deal to be had. So, and I know, and the reason I say that too is I also noticed, and I want to be very clear, that you are in Australia. So, and I don't know the Australian market. I'm talking about the US market, but I would imagine if you're not having a market like us, you're soon to follow. So I would imagine because all that gear was pumped out. It's all for sale. It's all for sale. So like I said, I would say that we're definitely back to pre-pandemic prices for sure in the market. And then every once in a while I get somebody, and then we'll end on this note. Every once in a while I get somebody going, I don't know, I don't see the deals you're talking about. Well, keep in mind, it's not in the seller's interest to tell you that they got to give you a deal. The seller is going to try to tell you that everything's great and that, and there are some exceptions. There are some guitars that are still holding great value, but they are the exceptions, not the rule. So, all right. On that note, I want to thank you guys so much for hanging out today. Amanda, I apologize. She sent me a ton of good questions, and I kept queuing them up, but I didn't get to them. So if you got your screen grabbed by Amanda and or Unfreaking Believable, they will be the first ones I talk about next week. So I have them saved. What's great is, like I said, the moderators, usually I get to the ones that they sent me, but today I didn't. But at least I have them saved for next week. So I'll make sure I hit them first next week. And they grabbed quite a few. So if you got a question you didn't get answered, you might get an answer first thing next week. On that note, hope you guys have a great week. Enjoy playing guitar, staying out of the heat if you have heat, because we definitely have it here. And I guess till the next time, know your gear.
Today's episode of the Know Your Gear podcast is brought to you by Patreon members, channel members, and viewers who like and subscribe. Thank you for making this possible. The Know Your Gear podcast.